This game does not insult your intelligence like Diablo 4, but it doesn't require a PhD like Path of Exile. This was the Steam review that sold me on Last Epoch. Now, I'm assuming most of you watching this are already fans of these asymmetric dungeon crawling games. You know what it is. You're gonna be grinding this game for loot. It's got a very, very capable end game as well, which is very nice because Diablo 4 still doesn't have a good end game. But what sets Last Epoch apart is the way that it approaches the builds in a much more organic way. So let me elaborate. There's 5 different classes in the game, and as you progress through the story, you can eventually spec into a subclass. Each of these classes has 3 different subclasses each. That's already a lot of different passive abilities you can obtain. But on top of that, you can at any point select 5 different skills to specialize in. And what this essentially means is that whatever skills you specialize in is a skill tree for that skill. Sometimes these are quite simple, like for example with Necromancer, you can end up having skeletal minions that go towards poison damage or cold damage or fire damage. But then there will be other abilities that are game changing where you sacrifice the ability to summon multiple skeletons for the sake of summoning one big skeleton. I'm just using this as an example because a lot of the skills have their own nuance. Some skills are definitely better than others, but generally speaking, you can kind of just build your character the way that you see fit. Now, you can swap your skill specialization at any time, but unfortunately at the moment you can't change your subclass. You have to stay committed to it. Meaning that if you want to truly experiment with different builds on your specific class, you're gonna have to just start a new character. So I hope they rectify this in the future. I do appreciate the fact that I was able to just experiment and find a build that worked for me though. Granted, I did eventually start looking up some online builds, but it's not because mine didn't work. It was just because it wasn't as optimal as others that are smarter than me. Now, I will admit this game does have some fundamental problems right now with performance, server stability, and difficulty spikes, because sometimes you'll just randomly get one shot. I also hate the music, but that's just personal preference. The thing is, this is a pretty small indie team making this game, and the developers never in their wildest dreams expected this game to be as successful as it was. One of you guys left a funny comment while I was streaming this game about the server instability, saying that the game is literally suffering from success. Another thing I would criticize, and this is just more of a personal pet peeve of mine, is the UI in this game is way too cluttered and busy. I know that there's a lot of appeal to looking at all of the loot and seeing what's better and what's worse for you in these types of games, but to me, the fun part is the gameplay, and organizing my storage space and inventory is not gameplay. 2 last positive notes I want to say before we end this review. One is if you are a summoner main like me, but you never play summoner because most games summoner sucks, I'm happy to report that summoner was at one point the meta in Last Epoch. These devs get it. The other thing that's so crazy to me is this game isn't full price, and in fact, you can get Last Epoch for the same price that you can get a cosmetic mount in Diablo 4. I also just wanted to clarify my overwhelming hate for Diablo 4. It's because I expected to get Diablo 4, but instead what I got was Diablo 3 with a new paint job. And in a lot of ways, Diablo 4 is actually severely lacking in comparison to Diablo 3, which totally makes sense because none of the OG Diablo developers are even with Blizzard anymore. But yep, anyways, the TLDR of this review is Diablo 4 sucks, get Last Epoch instead. This game isn't on console, but as far as I know, the devs are planning to bring it to console in the future, thanks to its wild success on PC.